Hello, hello. Are we live? Alright, welcome back to the Advent of Syntran 2024. Today is day 18. I was looking around on Reddit for some help with day 17, which I eventually got by totally cheating and just porting somebody's Python code to Syntran. But I did that today, so I saw some glimpses of what day 18 is. Sounds like we have another grid problem that maybe involves pathfinding. Hey, Giosman, welcome to the stream. If you don't know what updog is, I can't explain it. So what do we have here? Positions, 2 columns of numbers. Okay, let me read the puzzle. Bytes, nanoseconds, two-dimensional grid, 0 to 70. Okay, so we have an example with different size than the actual input, and this is not part of the size is just in the puzzle text. It's not in the actual input data. So we had another day like that a few days ago, which I found kind of annoying, but it's okay. You just have to read the puzzle. Okay, so we have XY coordinates. Sounds like maybe a 3D problem. $12 bytes. So there's more than 12 here. Is this like 20, maybe 24? I have to save this anyway. 25. Okay, 25. I should be able to echo the input. And that's... What? Did I misname? Yeah, I misnamed the file. TXT. And then syntran doesn't check if a file exists before you try to read it, so you will just essentially read an empty file. Okay, there we go. That's the input echoed. Okay. So after the first 12 bytes fall, that's basically half of this example. So you have something at 5, 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 5, comma 4, but we do not have 5, comma 5. So the first 12 bytes are up to there. So we should also have 1, comma 2, which is 0, 1, 0, 1. Huh? Oh, that's... Let me actually count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so we should have 5, comma 1. I think that's this. Is it 1 byte per nanosecond? Bytes fall into your memory space once every nanosecond. Okay. It doesn't really matter that it's a nanosecond. It's just once per unit of time, and the unit is arbitrary. 1024. Isn't that a kilobyte? We need to have a conversation about this. Did I not hit enter there? What the fuck? Who the fuck is this? Am I not logged in? I'll say it again. Please stop saying shit like kilobyte. We had a perfectly good solution called chill the fuck out and stop worrying about a 3% difference between 1000 and 1024. But of course, for the advent of code, precision does matter. So there are actually 3,500 bytes here, roughly. But if we only do the first 1024, that's going to be the last of our bytes. Okay. This doesn't sound too bad. And we have hopefully a more sparse set of walls than in day 16. In day 16, you had a proper maze where there were like a little bit more walls than open spaces. So you didn't have that many choices of where to go. Today, you're going to have a lot of choices. If it's 70 by 70, I think that's the real size, right? It's 4,900. And if we fill up 1,000, we're going to have mostly empty spaces. We're going to have like 80% open spaces. So there's no need to do any graph compression. You can just search on the whole graph, I hope. Maybe we'll have to optimize something. I think part 2 is just going to be a 3D thing where you let the blocks fall in time, and you can also take 1 step per unit time, and then you have to find the shortest path. That's very similar to previous advent of code problems where it's basically a 3D problem. Time is the extra dimension, but you can treat it like a spatial dimension where blocks are filling up through each sheet of that third dimension. And then it's still just a shortest path algorithm, but you can only move forward in time. Yeah, so when I was on Reddit, I saw some stuff about today, so I think that's what's coming in part 2. I'm not really sure. Anyway, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just do part 1. So I actually want to read... let's read a matrix from a file. And let's make a helper for that. It's about time that I had. So I made read care mat. It's about time to make read I32 mat, a matrix of 32-bit integers. So we have the dimensions. We do have to read the line as a string. And then how about comma delimited? And open question, should we take the delimiters as an arg? Maybe you'll have data that's delimited by spaces or tabs or semicolons or some of the above. So you might want to have a delimiter as an argument or a set of delimiters. For now, I'm just going to hard code commas. So I want to handle negatives. And then we have another helper function, which is parse I32 delim from the string, and the delims are the comma that I set up here. We have a matrix. Better fill the whole matrix so it doesn't really matter what I initialize it to. And then this is not right. I want this in here. This is all fucked up now. So the whole x slice, the whole slice at the current y value. Y is going to be the row. So we read the first string. I think we have to have like the first row as a dummy, just so we know the size to allocate the matrix. So nx is going to be size row 0 and cast that. Do I have to cast that? I don't think I have to cast that. Let's see if that works. It probably won't parse. And then I don't have to do any file handling in here. All I have to know is the file name. And I can do, what are we going to call these, bytes? I'm going to call it P for position. P or P's. Okay, there's my matrix. Did I get every line? 1620, 1620. So that's what I ended with. I have a mouse here. I don't know why I'm using the trackpad. Did I get the first couple? 5442, 5442. Cool. Bytes are just part of the plot. It really doesn't matter what these are. Okay. So we're going to have some conditional hard-coded data that depends on whether we're doing the test input or not. Come on. So the number of positions, I think 12 for the test input. And then the space, the size of the space that we're in is 6 by 6. And then for the real input, we're doing 1024. And it's 7. I can't remember. I have to double check all of this anyway. So 0 to 6, 0 to 70. Is that inclusive of the upper bound? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, it's inclusive of that, so it's actually... yeah. But then 12, it's really just 0 through 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4... 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So if I'm exclusive of my upper bound, 12 is good there. Okay, so you have to be careful. Some of this is like, they just give you the number of things. Sometimes they give you the upper limit, which is inclusive of that upper limit. So you have to be careful about this off by one stuff. Okay. So we're going to have a grid. It's going to be a Boolean grid, I guess. Nx by ny. And we're going to set the first np p's in the grid. So it's going to be P0 IP and then P1 IP. True. Do I want it to be Boolean? Because it's not going to like print nicely. I could make it character, then fill it in with hashes. But it really only needs to be a Boolean. We just need to know whether it's occupied or not. Okay, I need to... Are those not... They have to be in the global scope. They can't be inside of this if block. Let's just initialize everything to -1. You could just like initialize them to these values, and then if ifile is not 1, change them to that. Okay. So why don't I copy this? So hashes, we have one here. The problem with Booleans is that they're not aligned vertically because false is one more letter than true. That's just really unfortunate. They should have named false differently. They should have spelled false differently. So we have a true there and a true there. We have a true there, there, forming like a diagonal line almost, and then off by 1 from a diagonal line. Looks correct. Okay, so that's the first 12 of the test input. And now we have to find the 2D shortest path through that. Is it Dijkstra or is it BFS? I think it's not a weighted graph, so we can just do BFS. Not DFS. Okay. So I need a Q for BFS. That's the largest number of points that we could visit, I think, right? So that's not the right size. What are we going to push in this? We're going to have X position, Y position, and distance. Do I need direction? I don't think I need direction. So I think 3 is like my number of state variables that I'm storing in the queue. Okay. So then we're going to push something onto that queue. Do I need a visited array? I think I need a visited array. Okay, no syntax errors yet. Printing this is not really useful. And we push, so we start out in 0, 0, and we have to get to the opposite corner. Start at 0, 0, and you have to get to the bottom right. Okay, so those don't need to be those don't need to be variables. I think I'm just going to hard code those. So we're going to push something onto the queue. So queue begin, queue end. We push at the end of the queue. That's going to be 0, 0, 0. What do those zeros mean? Well, it's X and Y and distance. I think we need distance in the queue. Do we? We're just flood filling. What do they want to know at the end? How long the path is? Yeah, we have to count the number of steps. So to do that, I think you need distance in the stack, or queue. You don't really need to trace out the path. It's not for part 1. You just need to know the number of steps. Okay, so you do that, and then queue end +1. That's what happens when you push. It's the same as a stack, except the difference between a queue and a stack is going to come in popping. So in popping, we're going to change the beginning. Whereas in a stack, you change the end to pop, and in both cases, for queues and stacks, you change the end after you push. All right, and then we iterate. Breadth first search. Queue begin less than queue end. That means our queue is not empty. So we're going to pop. We pop from the beginning, not the end. And then queue begin gets incremented. They both go up. So when you push, the end goes up. When you pop, the beginning goes up. With a stack, this part is the same, but then when you pop a stack, the end goes down instead of going up. So that's the difference between a queue and a stack. All right, Now we're going to visit all the neighbors. So I need directions. I'm going to steal that from 16. Do these need to be in any particular order? I don't know. And then we want to check visited. And then we want to set visited. Then we want to push all of the neighbors as long as they're not occupied by a fallen byte position in the grid. So we're gonna check visited. Visited. Let's unpack. So the queue, we push a vector onto the queue, and then it's easy to pop off a whole vector. And then I'm going to unpack scalars out of that vector. So position, or initial position of u, really. That's going to be u0. So we have x, y, and distance. So that's what I'm storing in the queue. And I will unpack in that order. This is distance. Let me be explicit about that because D might mean direction for other problems. And then 1, 2. Okay. Now, if visited x naught, y naught, then we skip. We continue the loop. We continue to the next iteration, of the while loop. I ate way too much food for dinner. I had like leftovers that I had to finish, and then I had a vegetable that I had to cook. It's been like 2 days since I bought it, so that broccoli is not going to be super fresh if I waited another day, so I like had to cook that tonight too. A lot of food. I just did not plan very well. Hey, Vinny, welcome to the stream. Are you also participating in Advent of Code? Oh, you come to criticize. Oh no. Black Silver is raiding. Or Black Sliver. Sorry, Black Sliver is raiding. Thank you for the raid. I really appreciate it. How did your stream go? What were you doing? T-Mux, the T-Mux theme is awful. Okay. Yeah, I just have like a plain constant color status bar. It is custom. I riced this a little bit. I have key mappings, so like switching tabs. I have the T-Mux prefix mapped to control space instead of control B. It's custom, but I haven't done much customization of the theme. I don't remember if this is the default date format with year, month, day, or if I had to change that. Oh, yeah, Black Sliver. Well, I did misread it the first time. Control space. I know a lot of people hate the double tap, so to switch tabs, it's the prefix, control space, and then another space. So that is a double tap. Some people don't like the double tap, but on the other hand, it's the biggest key on my keyboard. That's the space bar. So that's why I mapped it. I got that idea from somebody else who uses that same mapping in Tmux using Zig. That's Mac only, isn't it? Or no, Zig is the language. I'm thinking of some. What's that editor that's Mac only? The background, this is somewhere in Norway. I think I can tell you exactly where. It's just Norway. I think I got this on the Earth Porn subreddit. This is a fjord. I guess that's a fjord. Looks like a fjord to me, somewhere in Norway. Oh. There's a thumbnail at the bottom. It's usually hidden by my status bar, but I just noticed this. Yeah, I don't know why all the subreddits are named after porn. It's safe for work. Can I zoom in? Yeah, let's zoom in more so we can read this watermark. Ganch Club 2010. Find more at freshdesign.in. I'm pretty sure I got this on the Earth Porn subreddit. Wonder if I can find that. Then it might tell us exactly where it is. Earth Porn. Norway. There's lots of Norway on Earth Porn. Do I have to sort this differently? Maybe top. Zed. Zed is what I was thinking of, yeah, when you said Zig. Oh, they have a Linux build now. It's about time. Edge. I don't think I'm using Edge. Is it in my status bar? Yeah, I'm not seeing this. I could probably reverse image search it, but I don't feel like doing that. Chrome. Oh, yeah, I'm using Bing. I'm so tired of like the AI overviews on Google. Like, I don't know. First thing you get is AI overview. 90. Well, for technical questions, usually the first thing I want to do is Stack Overflow. But if I Google like Brad Pitt, the first thing I want to see is like a link to Wikipedia. And okay, it's here. But a lot of the times, like I'm looking for a Wikipedia link and I can't find it because there's like AI overview taking up the whole top of the search result. So I got fed up with that and switched to Bing recently. They have their own AI overview, I think, but it feels less invasive. I do use Firefox personally, but when I stream, I use Chrome so that I don't like accidentally expose any personal information. I have like a streaming browser and then a personal browser, and that's how I segregate stuff. Okay. So I'm just doing a breadth first search here. It's Chrome for web development. Yeah, I don't really do much web development, so that's not a deciding factor for me. And I want to set visited. X not, Y not. It's true. It does have a better web menu. I've done a little bit of web development, and I usually use Firefox, and then like I kind of get used to where the buttons are in Firefox. So then when I switch to Chrome, like all of the developer tools are somewhere else, and it's just hard for me to navigate. I think most people do use Chrome though, so it is probably better for that. Yeah, whichever one you learn, if you try to switch to the other one, it's going to be uncomfortable. But I think objectively, Chrome is probably better. I don't really know because I don't do web dev, but that seems, yeah, 60% of the market share. That sounds about right. Okay, so we check and mark visited, and then I have to push the neighbors that are reachable. So for dir in directions, that's just Chrome. Oh, yeah, Chromium, because then Edge is Chromium. What else is Chromium? Is Safari Chromium? I think not. I think is Apple's thing called WebKit. I want to have like an integer iterator over directions, and then dir is dir's idir colon idir. That should be it. Everything except Safari and Firefox. Opera is Opera like so infrequently used that you're not even counting that? Okay. All right, so we have X and Y from the thing that we popped, And then I want to get the X and Y coordinates of the neighbor. So that's going to be X naught, not sure about opera. Yeah, that's kind of like an edge case. 0, and then Y is 1. Is this syntactically valid? Okay, I think so. All right, now I need to check that it's not occupied by a fallen byte at one of the P positions. Right, I already have a grid for that. What is this colon syntax? This is my language syntran. It's, in some ways it looks like Rust. In other ways it looks more like MATLAB or Fortran. So when you see colons, that's a slice along a direction of an array. There's this website that I made called Syntran Explorer. You can play with this without installing anything. And there's a demo that I'll show here on vector and matrix slicing. So first of all, there's hello world. You can run this, it prints a line. And then on arrays, there's some stuff about slicing. So I have a 3x4 matrix here. These are the values. And then after a semicolon, you have the size of the matrix. So this is size 3x4. I wrote this in Fortran. The interpreter is hosted in Fortran, but the syntax is supposed to look like Rust. That part was intentional. So you have a matrix, and then you can take a slice of this matrix. So if you have a colon, comma, 0, that's the whole first row of the matrix. So this is 0, 1, 2. And this is syntax from MATLAB or Fortran. They both use colons as a slice like that. And then if you want to get a column instead of a row, you do something like 1, comma, colon, and then that's the second column, or index 1, because it's 0-based indexing. So this 1, 4, 7, 10 is column 1, and that prints there. And then you can even do 2-dimensional slices. So if you want like a rectangular subsection of the matrix, you can do 0 through 2, comma, 1 through 4. And then I don't even remember what it is. It's 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10. So it's like this rectangle of the matrix. The first 2 columns and the last 3 rows. Colon, colon, colon is 3 rows. No, that would be a rank 3 array. So if you didn't have a matrix, but if you had something with like 3 dimensions instead of 2 dimensions, colon, colon, colon would be a slice out of that. So directions here is a matrix. Where did I just jump? Directions is a matrix. It's the 4 cardinal directions where each row is like a vector of length 2. So I'm using that colon syntax to pull a vector out of this matrix. Okay, so I want to check that this is not occupied in the grid. No, I've only known Fortran for about 10 years now, but I learned MATLAB a little bit earlier than I learned Fortran. Okay, so if grid is true, I want to continue. If grid XY, continue. And otherwise, okay, before I do that, I need a bounds check. So if not in bounds 0, 0, XY, NX, NY, continue. Okay, and then it's safe to do this, because if you try to index into this matrix when X or Y is out of bounds, that's not good. It's probably going to crash, or you might get a garbage answer. Okay, and then I can finally push the neighbor into my queue. So how did I push? I forget. Okay, so what am I pushing? X, Y, and then dist not plus 1. Okay, dist not is the right name of the variable. Every time we advance one step, we add 1 to the distance. And then at the end, we need to know the total distance. So that's why this is in the queue. It's famous enough to be the first Google result. Fortran or not syntran? Is this BFS? Huh. Did you just Google syntran or advent of code syntran? Because when I Google it, I find an antifungal medication, and I can't find my stuff at all. Lang. Okay. That's a good idea. Yeah, there's Sistran. That's unrelated. Huh. Getting a lot of Sistran. But this is Bing. So let me repeat your experiment. I don't know if I've looked for this recently. Well, it thinks you're searching for the wrong thing, so that's not a good sign. Huh, there we go. This is probably me. This is at least tangentially related to me. It might be in the comments here. Okay, yeah, I linked to my repo in this thread. So it could be country related. You would think it would be like related to you as a user. Like I'm logged in, it's my language. You would think that if anybody, I would be more likely to get results for this. But yeah, you're right. If I search for syntran lang and then insist that that's what I meant to search for, then this first link is relevant. And then after that, it's mostly antifungal medication. Google doesn't give a shit about users. I think that's right. Okay, I think I have BFS here. And then I just want to know the distance at the end. So I think we can check that here. X naught equals nx minus 1. I think that's the corner that we're looking for. Then will that be right, or do I need to take like a minimum over multiple distances? Good question. Is it garbage collected? No, but I don't really know how it frees memory at all, if it does that reliably. I've had bugs in the past where I've had terrible memory leaks where it keeps adding memory, and on a couple occasions I crashed my stream because I ran out of memory. Yeah, I wrote it in Fortran, but I don't know. I don't know if things ever get deallocated. I don't know if I ever free things. I think. Yeah, I think it might just not free any memory until the program ends. Oh no, this is like my main source of bugs. I forget all of the details about my language. It's not a memory bomb anymore. I used to have problems where like inside of a loop, if you allocated anything inside this loop, it would reallocate every time. Or maybe I had like a function related bug where every time you called a function, it would reallocate. And I fixed that bug. So now it will like reuse that memory. on every iteration of the loop or every time you call the function. But yeah, I'm not sure what happens when things go out of scope. I think I'm not doing anything when things go out of scope, and that's not great. So I think it's not ideal the way that memory is managed. How long have I been writing it? About 2 years now. So 2 years ago, I did Advent of Code in Fortran, and there are a lot of things in Advent of Code that like inspired me to write a language. So a few years ago, there were int code problems, and yesterday, this year, there was like another int code problem where it's like you're writing your own int code or bytecode interpreter. So that's one Advent of Code thing that inspired me. And another thing is these operator problems. I think we had another operator problem this year. Which day was it? I want to say it was like 5 or later. It's not this. Not that. Is it before? Yeah, this is it. So this is an operator problem where you have like plus operators and multiplication operators. There was another problem like this 2 years ago where you had like a tree of operations. I can't remember any more details about it, but a lot of these Advent of Code problems like this made me think like, hey, this is like almost like making a programming language. So if I can solve this Advent of Code problem, can't I just like make a whole language? And it turns out that I can. It's not a great language. It's not fast. It's slower than Python. And I don't even know how my memory management works. It's probably a math bomb, but like it's a somewhat functional language. I'll probably get 40 stars in this language here. So that's something, I guess. It's about time to completely recreate the wheel, make a new competing standard for memory handling. Yeah, AST. That's how mine works. I don't have a bytecode interpreter and I don't have a compiler, so I'm just walking the abstract syntax tree. So that's probably the easiest type of interpreter to make. Python and JavaScript both use bytecode, so they're fairly fast. Will this be the answer? Yeah, I think it's time to run this. The way you did it was pretty funny. So that's not good. That's a crash. I probably... Huh. Oh. I got the answer, and my program ended, and then it crashed. Is that repeatable? Now, I might have just discovered a bug in the interpreter, or maybe I'm doing something wrong here. Oh, you wrote a small transpiler. It writes a C file with your language's variables. Oh, that's cool. Is it, so it's transpiling to C from your language? Oh yeah, transpiling sounds hard. I just get the abstract syntax tree and then I evaluate that tree. So I'm not transpiling to anything else. That's almost more like compiling, because a compiler is just transpiling to assembly. Oh, your types didn't match with C. Yeah, I've pretty carefully chosen my types so that the types in syntran match the types in Fortran, and then I don't really have any issues. Actually, I'm cheating. I'm just sort of assuming that the types match. So if you try some weird compiler, some weird Fortran compiler, you might run into issues. Did I get the right answer at least? True, false, oh, and maybe. Oh, 3 booleans. Fuzzy logic, that sounds fun. So I think 24 is not right. 22 steps. maybe is false 50% of the time. Zero. Okay, how many O's do we have here? I think I already pasted this. How many O's? We actually have 23 O's. So a step means you start out at a distance of 0. So that should be 22. Why am I getting 2 greater than that? I'm just borrowing the Rust syntax highlighting. Yeah, that is a surprisingly hard problem. I Google like how to do syntax highlighting in I'm using NeoVim here, so like how to do syntax highlighting in NeoVim or Vim, and I can't really figure it out. So yeah, I'm just telling Vim to pretend that anything that's .syntran is just .rust, and then I'm stealing the Rust highlighting. It's usually pretty close, but then was it? Oh yeah, yesterday I think we had exponentiation. So like you do 2 to some power, and it's hard to tell, but the first asterisk here is dark blue, and then the next asterisk is a lighter blue. Did I make my own config for Vim? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like I copied and pasted other people's configs and made my own. I don't know if that counts as making my own, but it's not just like Bootstrap or Kickstart. Yep, Kickstart. It's not Kickstart, or it's not some startup package like that. So yeah, I think there you can see it better, that these asterisks should probably be the same color, but because Rust does not have this as a power operator, it doesn't get the syntax highlighting right for that. 40% of the code from NVChad. Yeah. Yeah, that's what you do. You have to like, I watched YouTube videos of other people setting up NeoVim configs, and then I saw like what they did that I liked, and then I stole those pieces and I ignored everything else that I didn't like. I'm not using very many plugins. I have a plugin for the syntax, not the syntax highlighting, but the color theme, because this is like Tokyo Night or Tokyo Moon or something like that. That's the name of the color theme. So I use that for a plugin. And I might have one other plugin. I can't remember. Why do I get the wrong answer and crash? I'm tempted to ignore the crashing, but I can't ignore the wrong answer. Can't live without nvim surround. What does that one do? Around delimiters. Yeah, I do change within brackets. So like maybe I want to change this to, something. But I don't frequently do change around. Hey, what does the plugin do then? Can it do other things besides brackets and parentheses and quotes? A sentence. Oh, you add parentheses. Okay, yeah. That does sound useful. That works with HTML tags. Grid. I think that's allocated to the correct size. So that doesn't crash. But this does. So I did this slightly differently 2 days ago. I didn't unpack a vector. I just added components of the matrix directly. And I'm never checking. Let me add some buffer here. That could be the issue. Okay, my queue wasn't big enough, and I'm not checking for overflow of the queue. So that's dangerous. I still get the wrong answer, though. Let's make that times 4. Okay, maybe I'd need to like keep track of the minimum. I was thinking about that. Just some huge number. And then dist end equals the minimum. Is that different? Okay, 22. Let me try this on the real input. I think I've got it. 374. I like my chances. Okay, that's part 1. So from what I've seen on Reddit, I think part 2 is going to be 3-dimensional. Basically, you let one byte fall in the first second, and you can take one step, and then another byte falls in the second nanosecond, actually. It doesn't really matter what the unit of time is. And then like your map is changing as time passes. But if you treat that like a third spatial dimension, it's just a search problem in 3D instead of a search problem in 2D. And then in an array-oriented language like syntran, going from 2D to 3D isn't that much harder. You just add one rank or add one dimension to a few arrays. Oh, cut off the path. So this is not what I was expecting. The byte at 1-1. So we can still move like infinitely fast. And then this is the byte that they're talking about, 1,1. And there's still a path. Nope, that's the wrong example. So there's still a path after 1-1 falls. And then the next byte falls. So that's 6-1. The answer is 2 integers. We're getting another one of these. So that messes with my template because the template that I copy every day, it just assumes that these all return integers. And then if one of them returns a string that's separated by commas, it just messes with my template. Okay. How long? That took like a fraction of a second. I can just brute force this. Like, we only have 5,000 steps. 5,000. I don't know. Maybe it'll take a few minutes to run. What's 5,000 times that? It's actually like 4,900, I think. Okay, it might take 30 minutes, maybe. Can you treat this like a 3D problem? Yeah. I'm going to have to think about this more if there's a need to optimize, but this is half an hour. So I think I can just let it run if it is that slow. I'm not really sure. You know, some of this time might just be parsing. Because this is an interpreted language, there's no compiling. So some of this might just be starting up and parsing the syntran source code. I don't know if it really takes that long to run one step. And there's a lot of logging, which is unnecessary. So that's the first thing I want to get rid of. It's really just that one matrix. Okay, and it's just as slow. It's not any faster without the logging. Okay, so I'm going to take part 1 and copy that. And this will become part 2. So this should just run part 1 twice. Yeah, it's like twice as slow. So if I brute force this and do, how long is the input? It's smaller than I thought. It's 3,500 roughly. So 3,500. I don't know, somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes times 60. No, divided by 60. Duh. 22 minutes. It's not great, but it's probably easier to let a program run for 20 minutes than it is to try to do some difficult optimization. So it's day 18 here. Like, I have to save my brain for the future days that are coming up and are probably going to be harder than today. Yeah, if I can just be lazy and brute force it, I'm going to do that. Okay. So we don't even have to iterate through all of these because we know we can get through. I could just like bisect this before I come up with an automated solution. I can bisect this. So we know NP is basically what I'm going to be bisecting. We know 1024 is safe, and then 3,500 is the upper limit, so I can just try halfway in between. You could, yeah. I did see this on Reddit. I saw somebody on Reddit say something about bisecting. But I don't think that's where I got the idea from. I think I legitimately thought of it just now. I don't know. Maybe subconsciously it was in there. So you feel free to accuse me for cheating by looking at the subreddit. But I was looking at the Reddit for day 17 help, and I just happened to see some stuff about day 18 here. Okay, so NP is 1024. And then the upper limit is actually, let me get the exact number, 3,450. Is it 3,450 or 3,449? Do I have to convert to zero-based indexing? Let me try that, and I think it's going to crash. That runs. Should it run? And I'm iterating up to NP. Okay, and you can see that that's unreachable. This is just the max distance that I initialized this to. Yeah, and then it never changed. So now we can go halfway in between those. Let's call it N1 and N2. And then we're going to bisect, just take the average of those two bounds. And then I want to print that. So you could automate the bisection search, but I think I can just run it a handful of times manually here, maybe like a couple dozen times. And that shouldn't take too long. Bisecting is O log n. So I shouldn't have to go through a huge number of iterations. Like, what do we have? Like 2,500? What's log 2 of 2,500? Yeah, might have to go through like 12 or a few more than 12 bisection steps. So that's really not bad. Okay, am I casting correctly? Okay, so 2237 is passable. So I'm going to change my lower bound and delete the upper bound. Like I said, I'm just going to iterate manually here, and then this is also passable. That is not passable, so that's my new upper limit. Basically, if this number is 2 billion, then I'm going to use that number and replace my upper limit. If this is smaller than 2 billion, then I'm going to take this number and replace my lower limit. And that's how you do a bisection search. So hopefully I don't mess it up here. See, these two numbers are getting pretty close together already. There's like a gap of 150. And that's an upper limit. That's passable. That's passable. That's passable. These are getting real close now. So probably only a few more iterations to go. That's not passable. What would have been faster, automating this or just doing it manually? And there's only a gap of 3 now. That's not passable. Okay, so 2911 is passable and 2912 is not passable. Let me just double check those now that I think I'm done bisecting. So bisect manually by copy pasting these numbers from NP output. That's what I just did. But now I want to, as a final step, I want to verify this. So that should be passable, or 2911. So that's lower than 2 billion. And then the next one up from that, that's not passable. Okay, so it's 2911 is my answer. Everybody's input is different, so your answer will be different. What? Oh, am I running the example input? No, I think I went to the real input. What? Oh, first of all, they want the first one that's impassable. So it would be 2912, but then 2912 isn't the answer. NP, I think it's going to be NP minus 1. If I have 2912, then I want minus 1. Uh, 30, 12. I'm really worried that I have an off by 1 error from, not from this. I know that this is impassable and this is the first impassable one, but I'm worried about this being off by 1. But let's try it. Worst case scenario, we just have to submit 3 different answers. And I should have no spaces, I think. No other characters. Yeah, so don't put a space there. 3012. Okay, yeah, that wasn't too bad. After the stream here, I'll probably automate that bisection search, but I don't know. You watched me do it. Was it like 3 minutes of manual bisecting? That really wasn't bad. And then the thing that tripped me up is I forgot what I was supposed to submit for the answer. I tried submitting like the time, but they wanted the position. I read that. I can't say that I didn't read the puzzle carefully or that the puzzle was written poorly. It's just that I read it and then I forgot it. Okay, that's day 18. I think I'll commit that and then find somebody to raid. To do, automate the bisection search. And then to do, print this as the answer, not like the time step as the answer. I've got a whole bunch of untracked stuff from going back and fixing day 16 and then figuring out part 2 of day 17, but that's another story. I think that's all the important stuff. That's everything in this directory, actually. AOC 2024, day 18. And I'll probably automate the bisection later off stream, but that's all I'm going to do for now. All right, who is on Twitch? JD, CM Griffing. I think I'll raid Non.
What's your name?
I think she's doing React day 3. Okay, she was doing Advent of Code, but this looks like something else. React development, JavaScript, TypeScript. Looks like TypeScript. Okay. Raid non-codes. Cool. All right. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. I really appreciate it. And I will catch you next time. Bye.
Columns. Oh. Okay, we're not going to get anything with this. We got rows. Okay, now we got to get the diagonals. Jeff! Read the hand going on. I don't know how to read Korean. That's Korean. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Jeff, thank you for the raid. Are you still at it with Advent of Code? Shout out to Jeff, everyone. Jeff, our fellow Fortraner and syntran creator. Shout out to Jeff. Give him a follow. It doesn't bother you, no it doesn't. Wait. Skip song for, wait, did it skip? Is that Fred? I'm not sure. I wasn't really checking. Wait, what day are you on, Jeff? Holy. Yay. No, so my bot is very buggy, so sometimes usually it bugs out either because I didn't sterilize the input, so if you guys put some sort of input, it'll bug out. Or my connection fails. I fail to reconnect. So I also have bugs where like if it's like if there's only one song on the playlist,